Hello, everybody, and welcome to this YouTube channel where we talk about success stories and letting people know that you can recover from chronic fatigue syndrome and long COVID, because a lot of people do. Obviously, I'm Jan Rothney, so created the Reset to Thrive program, which originally was supposed to be support for my book, Breaking Free, a guide to recovering from chronic fatigue syndrome and long COVID symptoms, because I realize it's very difficult for a lot of people to recover on their own with a book. So the program was set up to support the book and act as a visual aid and offer people assignments to work through. And then it developed into community support. I'm so delighted that we have Nikki Buffoni with us today. So Nikki's not only a participant, but she's also a partner on the program now. And so welcome, Nikki. How lovely to see you. We just talked today about your success story and your actual story of how were you? What happened to you in the beginning?
So in the beginning, I thought I was just burnt out. So I'm a mum of a kiddo with autism. And it was actually in the middle of COVID lockdown. So I was trying to work full time. I was trying to homeschool my 6-year-old, and work was really stressful, had a lot going on. And I had just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I knew I was burning the candle at both ends. Um, and I just thought, I kept feeling sick, like constantly getting like colds, sort of not, but just not feeling great. And I, for months and months, was going to the doctor saying, I'm not right, I'm not feeling well. And they're like, well, look at your life, it makes sense. And then eventually I went on holidays and I thought I'll put my boundaries down, and I said, I don't want anyone to call me. I'm on holidays. I really need a rest. I'm really not feeling great. And we went on holidays for a week, and I didn't really do anything on holidays. And then when I got home from holidays, I actually couldn't get out of bed. And I was like, okay, I'm full on. This has to be burnout. I'll just take a few more weeks off work and rest, and I'll get better. And I just never got better. I was just, I had no energy. I couldn't stand. I was dizzy. Every time I sat up, the world was spinning. I couldn't, yeah, I was just sleeping all day. Um, Whenever I wasn't, with my son, I was asleep, or even when I was with my son. Yeah, I remember he was taking photos of me asleep on the sofa, and you know, when he was older, he said to me, "Did you still, do you still love me when you're asleep?" And I remember feeling so guilty and so dreadful. But yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I was really scared. And then eventually, someone suggested it might be chronic fatigue syndrome. And I looked up did my internet searching and thought, yep, that seems very much like what I'm dealing with. Now, how do I get better? And of course, you get told, we don't know, which is probably better
You
than
get diagnoses from the
I took me a little while. So I kind of had decided I had chronic fatigue syndrome, and my doctor um, thought that it was possible. She was great in that she didn't pretend to know anything. So she didn't come in and say, you're not going to get better, or this is what you have to do. She was like, this is outside my scope. And I went to see a specialist, not a chronic fatigue specialist, just a some ologist, rheumatologist. It was a rheumatologist who diagnosed me, and she's didn't help me, but I got a diagnosis. And yeah, then I did my own research on the internet on what I should
Did
do.
you have fibromyalgia as well? Did you have the
No, I didn't
functioning?
get no, I didn't have sort of pain. I had lots of headaches and I had the dizziness. I ended up seeing an integrative doctor and he also gave me a POTS diagnosis and MCAS diagnosis as well. Um, I think MCAS and that I've probably had my whole life. And I think this is all part of the same bucket of things that has improved along with my chronic fatigue, as all my allergy, asthma, all of that stuff has improved as well, which is interesting.
That
Yeah.
is so fascinating.
Yeah.
So once your body is functioning in the right mode, you're less susceptible to infection, allergies, anything to do with the immune system.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
The and how did you approach things when so you were bedridden and then did you get a bit better?
So yeah, as soon as I was able to, I would get up and do stuff. I had a little son who needed me, so I remember his school thankfully is in our street, but I would have to take a chair with me because it was COVID. We weren't allowed to walk into the school. We all had to stay outside the school to pick up, and I couldn't stand. I would pass out. So I would take a little stool with me. Like, so it was like a massive thing to get to the front door, to the school door, and sit on my little chair waiting for him. So yeah, I would push myself as soon as I had enough energy to do that sort of stuff. I didn't have any, I've got my husband, but he was at work. So I needed to get him to school and
Exactly.
pick him up. There's no one else. So I would push myself. And so I got into like push crash. So I would, when I could do stuff, I would, and then I would crash into a heap. And then through um, I guess my own research, I found yoga nidra, which was helpful because then I started to actually rest. When I would rest, I would actually be calm and in my body instead of terrified. So that I had a slight improvement when I started the yoga nidra. Um, and then I also had some improvement when I initially started pacing, because I would rest instead of just push through. But then after a while, what was helping me, I realized was getting in the way. So, but it took me a long time. So I did about
But
a year.
why was it getting in the way? What was actually happening?
Well,
So
I
in the
felt
beginning it was good.
in the beginning it was good because I had started to have, I guess, more control because before I wouldn't understand what was going on. I'd do a lot, I'd push through symptoms, and then I would fall in a heap. And when I started to pace, I would, I wouldn't just vacuum the house. If I had energy, I would do a little bit and rest and do a
Yeah.
little bit and rest.
And
Because I
then
wasn't
what happened
very
to get you stuck with pacing?
What happened is I didn't expand. I didn't know how to expand because I thought I had a lot of fear and I didn't actually realize I had fear. If someone
Mm.
I actually did see someone say, if you're scared of exercise or you're scared of doing too much, I'm like, that's not me. But actually, subconsciously, I was sending these messages to myself that if I do that, I'm going to pay for it, or if I did have symptoms, I would start to think back, okay, well, it's because I did ABC and that's why I'm now suffering. So it's my fault. So I haven't done a good enough. And then I'd beat myself up and then I'd be in a worse state and I'd stay stuck.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was scared to move beyond what I knew I could handle. And of course, you don't know what you can handle until you until you cross that line. And I thought crossing that line equated to me potentially having a massive setback that I would never recover from, because that was the messages I was getting when I looked at stuff online, was that if you go too hard one day, it could all be over and that's it. You'll be in bed for the rest of your life.
I
And so
know.
I was terrified.
Well, not surprising. You
Yeah.
know, it's it is so normal for people to do that, isn't it? Because initially you do feel safe because you're not
Yeah.
crashing and pushing through, but then you become so safe in that little bubble that then the rest of the world becomes unsafe.
Mm.
And you are taught that you need to do this or you'll pay for it,
Yeah.
which got you so trapped. So how did you get out of that?
Yeah, so I did try another program before yours, and that didn't help me with that element of it. Um, and then I heard you speak on a Facebook group about the trap, the prison that we can get into, and it resonated with me so much. It was amazing. And so then I bought the book and did the program, um, and made some significant progress. Um, and then I had a really, really bad infection and I ended up in hospital,
Wow.
which had nothing to do with chronic fatigue. But of course, the infection, and the days in hospital, and it was really quite scary. I couldn't open my mouth, and it was horrible. And I got had a massive setback from that. And then I stayed there for a little bit, and then I went back to the program and heard you speaking again about the importance of that serenity and, rising above, letting yourself rest when you need to. And do you know what? Since then, I've had many setbacks, but they don't last now. And it's all because I was able to take that mindset and really live it rather than just think it, really just be okay when things would go backwards a bit. Just when you said it's part of every recovery journey, it's
Yeah.
expected. Like you actually have to go through the bumps in the road to get through to the other side. And
And to be okay with them.
yeah, and that being okay with the bumps in the road was another massive turning point for me, was when I just started, because yeah, there was less fear. And it's all about fear, isn't it? Like fear
Like
is
being
the
safe, be
opposite to what
fearless.
we need. Yeah. Feeling safe is what we need. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because the body can't heal until it knows it's safe to heal.
Yeah.
The What did you learn about yourself
Oh, so
in this
much.
journey?
I've still got lots of work to do.
Did you learn to trust yourself? Did you
I
learn?
did, yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. I had a similar journey with my son. When my son was diagnosed with autism, there's this kind of medical model that's presented to you as like, in a way, it's horrible. It's like these are all the things your child can't do.
Yeah.
And then they kind of send you off, and you're kind of left as a mum to go, what do I do with this? And how do I support him? And there's all these different voices out there telling you, this is the right therapy to do, that's the right therapy to do, you should do this, you should do that, you should do. And it wasn't, and that was a massive learning for me. I learnt then I had to look to him and look
Yeah.
to me and
Yeah.
make the best decisions. And I had to focus on his strengths and my strengths, and we were in it together.
Wow.
So that was a lesson that I took into this journey that I've had with chronic fatigue syndrome, because it's exactly the same, like
It
I
is.
had to not listen to all the noise out there. I had to find the things that would help me along the way.
Yeah.
And then I had to integrate them into my life and trust myself and trust that I knew the best way forward. And it's the positives, always the positives, focusing on the joy, focusing on my strengths, focusing on my family's strengths. I think in this space, there's not a lot spoken about, particularly for mums or parents of young kids or kids with disability. I think your world is part of the journey. You can't separate
Yes.
family from your recovery journey. And I think bringing them together, trusting myself, trusting my family, that was a huge learning. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, apart from the program um, being a sort of light bulb for how to approach things, being fearless and trusting yourself, and how to actually expose yourself to situations and exertion in a way that you are getting them, sending the messages that actually I'm okay, I am safe to heal. What else do you think the program enabled you to have that was so important?
So it's interesting. Another thing I learnt from having my son was the power of community. So I was lucky enough to become involved in peer support with parents of kids, young kids with disability. And I ended up, first, I went to the program as a participant, and then I became a peer support leader. And then I ended up becoming the head trainer as well. And that was massively supportive for me. And so when I saw your program, I did do a program previous that didn't really have much of a community, um, and no support. And then you had your wonderful community, and the time zones didn't always work because I'm on the other side of the world. And so
Get the recording though.
I did have the recording, and the webinars were brilliant. But yeah, I reached out to Jan and we organized some peer support, and that was amazing. I think but the whole, the free community chats, the webinars, the Reset to Thrive community is so important because yes, we understand the tough times, but we can celebrate the little wins. And we all know how much those little wins mean because we've been there. And I think community support, a lot of us need that external support. It's not impossible to do it on your own, but I think it's super hard to do it on our own. And yeah, it's such a beautiful community. I don't know, but I think people that end up with long COVID and ME/CFS are some of the nicest people. They really are. So it's such a
Really
nice
are.
community.
And I
Yeah.
have to say, Nikki, I mean, the feedback that we get from your peer support group is astonishing, bar none. And you have been really instrumental in taking this program from a visual aid support and extra support with assignments, worksheets to go with the book. Obviously, I was doing the webinars and the community chat, but then to have in this peer support where they actually then go on and buddy up and follow up and continue having that support is incredible. Absolutely incredible. It's just been a game changer for so many people. And and I love that we're doing this. It's it is amazing,
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's
So,
been amazing watching them grow. Like
oh, it is.
I love like finishing up with them after the 12 weeks and then to hear that they're going on and continuing, and it's so easy as well when I think when you're on your own to go down rabbit holes, to start looking for the golden key and that's going to fix you, and rather than actually doing the work day in day out, like actually
Yeah.
focus, which is what you're saying with the focusing, when you've got other people that are kind of accountability buddies, it's much easier to make sure that you're not getting lost, doom scrolling Facebook groups on, what the next thing is that might help, Yeah.
And one of the really big things about the program and the support is it's not just about getting physically better. It's
Yeah.
actually learning how to deal with things in a way that you probably end up, well, you do end up better, more resourceful, more robust than you would have been prior
Yeah.
to ever being ill.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's an amazing thing to watch people flourish in so many different ways in their life, whether
Absolutely.
it's emotionally or socially, spiritually, you know, dealing with mental overload, that they learn how to do that as well as just get physically better.
Yeah.
The so thank you so much, Nikki. And if anybody wants to join us, do come along and join us on the Reset to Thrive program with the support and the community.